I'm Shanna. If you're new here, I'm a Canadian medical student and I make videos to help pre-meds and med students overcome different challenges in the pre-med journey. And today's video, we'll be talking about a non-traditional journey to medicine involving a career change and some tips on making this. So today I'm really grateful to have Jill, a medical classmate, for taking the time to share. As much as we all know that the average person applies like 3 times to medical school, it can be disheartening. Did you ever have experiences with self-doubt or start questioning if this was the right thing, and how did you kind of deal with that?
I took the first rejection pretty hard because I didn't even get an interview. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm too late to the game. Because at the time I graduated from my master's, I already worked for a year. I was thinking maybe I'm too late for the game. Maybe I'm just, not suitable for medicine because the interview rate was for UBC was like what, 40%? I don't very few people get an interview. I don't remember how many, but not that many. So I took the first rejection pretty hard, and I start doubting. And it was about the time where I wasn't very happy with my job either. So I was like, it was difficult, but I think thankfully I have really supportive family and friends who kind of give me encouragement, and my parents are very open. They never tell me to do anything. Like, they always let me do what I want to do, so that I'm very thankful for. So they're very supportive, and I think a part of me is really stubborn. A part of me is really stubborn. I got rejected. I was like, man, I'm gonna try again. Why not? I already wrote the application for once. Most of it is gonna be the same. It's just a matter of, submitting another application to give it another try. Second year, I got an interview. I got waitlisted and then rejected. So I was really, really close. That was hard because I had to rewrite the MCAT. I guess what kept me going, now thinking back, it was just really that I really wanted to do medicine, and the joy that I experienced on palliative care unit was too hard to give up. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. I was gonna say, will this hold true to you? And if it doesn't, you can disagree. I was curious, maybe the fact that it took you a few tries, it kind of strengthened your resolve each time. And because you had to test yourself in a way mentally, whether or not how strongly you wanted to do it again. You say stubborn, but I can also twist it and say persistence.
Yeah.
Twist. Maybe that was helpful because then that makes sure for yourself that you really, really want to do this. And I'm going to say it's never fun. I think a good piece of advice I got about rejection, I think the last time I got rejected for a research grant or something like that, and I was like, oh, but I'm devastated. Even the person who I think was one of the doctors was like, hey, I want you to remember that when it comes to applying to medical school, when it comes to a lot of these opportunities, you could have taken that entire, how many people to apply? 2,000 people applied to UPC or something like that. These 2,000 people, and we could have picked all 2,000. We could have picked the top, 500, and everyone would be an amazing doctor. We could have picked and choose anybody, and they would have made it a amazing medical student. It's just that we only have that capacity to take, 200 people. And it's such a hard, painful choice for them sometimes because they feel like every single person is quite good once it gets to a certain point. And so the point was that it's not so much a reflection on you being a bad candidate. It's not a reflection that you're too late to the game. It's not a reflection that your GPA is not good enough, that you're unworthy of medicine. It's just that it just happens that year there are so many people that are amazing. And when I look at our classmates, I feel like every single person is so amazing in a different way. Have these achievements that I can never even think of. Wow, how did you even come up with that? That's so cool that you started this cause or whatever. So I think every single person that is there is just so amazing. And I also think that a lot of the people that actually get rejected, a lot of people that are on the wait list, if they had gotten, they would have been just as good. They're just as good, and they're not less. Or maybe they're like, less by zero point 0.1 by this kind of almost slightly arbitrary criteria we make about who gets to get in. And just by that, like that few points of a decimal, they could have just easily been in there, and they'll be just as amazing a doctor after a few more years, after a few more application cycles.
There are always more qualified candidates than there are positions. Of what really kept me going, besides that passion that I really want to do it, the support I get from people around me. They gave me lots of encouragement, so I'm thankful for them for believing in me and giving me the encouragement along the way. Sometimes I think back and be like, "Whoa, I went through that." It was really worth it.
Top things you would have said to Jill of the past, to Jill of the undergrad era. What?
Believe in yourself. To know that the path that you're on is gonna be worthwhile, although it may seem, people can give you doubts at times. People can say things that they want, but to know that you're on the right track and you're doing, what your heart desires at the moment, whatever it is your heart desires at the moment, to just do it and try not to get other voices to bog you down. Graduating from undergrad, there are many things that I took for granted. For example, like good grades, good achievements, prior to undergrad has been from school and from extracurriculars outside of school. But then going into a world of going into my master's and then going later into my career, I faced a lot of resistance, and a lot of it I think was from my lack of experience in dealing with human to human interactions, and also a part of me was my ego that got in. So I think if I were to talk, a good piece of advice is to also be humble and always have a willingness to learn, because you can learn from anyone. And there's always something in the person in front of you that you can take away from. My third piece of advice is to not push yourself too hard in undergrad, and even in masters. I always try to overachieve. I think a lot of people in medicine also does that. I don't want to speak for everyone, but for me personally, I definitely try to overachieve and push myself too hard. That it can be exhausting. So if I were to give a third piece of advice to myself in undergrad, was to relax, learn how to relax, because everything is gonna be okay in the end. And almost for joy is in the moment, not in the future.
When I was a pre-med, I thought relaxed, and it would be okay once I got to medical school. And then I realized that even when you're in medical school, it's not like instantly you'll have like a switch that's just like relaxed mode. It's something you have to consciously learn for yourself, that no matter what stage of life is, whether or not you're a pre-med trying to get to medical school, you're a medical student trying to get to residency, a resident, now an attending, there's always ways to push yourself too hard. There's ways to overachieve.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn to find that line for yourself, where to pull back and just enjoy the moment, as you were telling us is so important to do, and where that line between enjoy the moment versus push yourself for the future is going to be different for every single person, depending on what you want to get out of your life. And I think it's hard, I'm faintly remembering that in undergrad I had a bit of that mentality, and I think a lot of people will too, but it's like when I get into medical school can I be my happiest, which I think it will increase a bit of your happiness, because you'll have these moments that are taking you closer to the job of your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to remember that in undergrad there's a lot less responsibilities, and it's a really fun time that you should enjoy for what it is.
You may be tired, but that's okay. Give yourself some time to take a breather and relax in the moment, and allow some time for you to rest, but knowing that this transition time, this hard time, while you're making the transition, will be worth it in the end, if medicine is truly what you desire, and don't give up easily. Because it can be if for the first 1 or 2 tries that you don't get in, it can be disheartening, but don't give up if that's what you really truly desire.
The ones where you said like, but you haven't sat about and thought about, oh wow, I did that. I think when you're in it and you're going forward, you don't know if you'll get through it, but when you look back, it's almost like you forgot how hard it was. I don't want to discredit the experience because it was difficult, right? But when you like look back and we're like retrospectively, all the dots line up and it made sense. But in the moment, it looks like it doesn't make sense.
To know who you are, to understand yourself, and you can only understand or know who you are and what your passion is by by experiencing. Because only when you face different situations, when you face different people, different scenarios, then you will have reactions to those scenarios and reaction. You will have a genuine reaction, be like, hey, I really enjoy this, or no, I don't enjoy myself at all. You'll never find out by sitting there and imagining it.
Yeah.
Because your brain can trick yourself, but experience won't trick you. Like, your reactions are genuine. So when you like face a patient with a family and you have a genuine reaction, be like, I'm really enjoying that interaction that I just had with them. Or you can have a very genuine reaction, be like, I find myself to be very awkward. I don't like that. Those are both genuine, and they can tell you so much about yourself, and then guide you in your decision making into pursuing medicine, or what kind of medicine that you want to pursue. If you think medicine is what you do, there also so much diversity and variety in medicine that you can choose. But first and foremost, medicine is a general field. You will want to experience them before committing to it. Or else, that's such a big commitment that you're making, and it takes a long time. Medicine is a long journey.
I would say every extracurricular is optional. You don't have to do research. You could. You don't have to do this and that. But the only one that I very strongly encourage is healthcare experience. Not it's good for your application, but first and foremost, as you said, to do healthcare, to continuously test yourself if medicine is right for you. And then finding different ways to test yourself. So putting yourself in the hospital setting. Do you like the hospital setting? Do you hate the hospital setting? And not every a lot of doctors don't always work in the hospital. Do you like the family practice or the private practice setting? And finding different ways to test that. And one big one I always like to do, and I wish I did more of, but luckily it worked for me. But someone else might need more of it. Is to test again some related fields. Throwing yourself into something where you work really closely with nursing. You work really closely with pharmacy or pharmaceutical industry, things that are kind of related. Just that, because these are so close and they kind of achieve some similar things like helping people, working with science, just to check that maybe one of those isn't the most happiest self version for you. Just so that you'd have no regrets that you had chosen something, you should have chosen something else. So my only one about like your must do extracurricular is to do that healthcare experience for yourself. Thank you again, Jill, so much for sharing your stories. And I genuinely believe that there's going to be someone watching this that learns from your story, whether or not they're trying to transition from their career, or at least there's someone who was at that phase where they were kind of a little bit ambivalent about medicine. I hope thank you to everyone who's watching. Drop a comment if there was something that really, something about that Jill said that really really resonated with you, or if you have like a particular question, I can whip it over to Jill. I don't really feel like you left a lot of questions because you really shared a lot, but if anyone wants to share and have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments.